Hey guys, this is Steve, also known as Terramantis, and this is my channel ViiTCHA. Recently I was lucky enough to take a trip out to Seattle where I was able to visit Bungie to get some hands-on time with the Taken King expansion for Destiny. Now, unlike many outlets, I won't regurgitate some press fact sheet a publisher hands off just to make videos hyping the release of a game or speculation revolving around a new trailer or announcement. I don't make a video unless I can tell you my experience with the game firsthand. So in this video we're going to talk about that experience made simple and very digestible and 10 things you need to know about the Taken King. Alright, so the first topic is pretty well known, but we should still discuss it nonetheless, and that is that there's going to be new subclasses. Across the new campaign, each class will obtain a new subclass. The Titan receives Sunbreaker, Hunter gets Night Stalker, and the Warlock is endowed with Stormcaller. Of course, there's a lot of nitty and gritty to get into for each subclass, but we're going to just cover the basics of each one here. First up, the Sunbreaker Titan can hurl exploding hammers of flame, melee enemies causing all damage on that target from all sources to cause precision damage, and even shoulder charge while using the special. The Hunter's Bow can tether enemies in place and create barricades, while a new grenade can cause any friendly target to turn invisible. And finally, the Stormcaller Warlock is just a shredding machine of electricity, also accompanied with some teleporting blink ability that looks pretty fun. In addition to the new subclasses, there's also going to be some new item slots found on your character as well. For one, there's artifacts. These pieces of gear are not visible on your character, but for the most part they're just adjustable pieces of stat gear. That being said, I've only seen a few blue tier pieces in the game. I'm sure there will be more, but how much they'll impact your character is still to be determined. Next we have ghost shells. These will of course give your ghost a new coat of paint, but they also add some stats and they seem to have some various crafting material detectors on them as well, making materials like Spirit Bloom, Relic Iron, and so on easier to find by placing markers on them. Oh yeah, also swords. Also, a new paint job and stats isn't the only change happening to your ghost. Voice actor Peter Dinklage is being replaced by Nolan North as the voice of your personal ghost.
We're almost there.
I have to say it was really strange hearing a different voice commenting about the world of Destiny or my many deaths within it. Nolan's voice is more childlike and innocent sounding. North's delivery actually reminded me a bit of the robots from Portal, somewhat more playful and character distinguishable than Dinklebot.
Guardian down.
Another interesting way Ghost is being implemented beside a new voice actor is through the use of scannable portions of the environment. When prompted, your ghost can interface with specific objects in some way to elaborate on the situation surrounding your character or delve into the lore a bit.
This membrane is attempting to form a bridge between dimensions, but I think it requires a living host.
If you're a Metroid Prime fan like myself, then this will feel extremely familiar. I personally loved it. It's a non-intrusive means of storytelling wherein people who care to learn more can seek it out, and those who don't can avoid those bits of story completely.
They sent teams to investigate anomalous energy fluctuations across the base. None of the units reported back.
Now as for the narrative itself, the gist is that Oryx, the God King of the Hive and father of Crota, the final raid boss we killed at the end of Dark Below, is out to seek revenge for the death of his son and finish what Crota started. The expansion does a great job of establishing just how tremendous and unstoppable of a power the Taken King is. The first mission, for example, showcases the Cabal caught in the momentum of the forces of Oryx as his armies move closer toward humanity. And the Cabal, a race described as fearless, war-hungry planet destroyers, along with all other races, are being absorbed into the Taken King's forces. The Cabal are on the run. Everything is being consumed in the wake of Oryx and ultimately succumbing to his will. Everything is afraid of the Taken King. This precedent gives the story a sense of urgency and empathy, as even the most formidable races of the Destiny universe are they themselves sharing in the same foe as the Guardians. These are just some of the many ways the Taken King is attempting to alter and change the storytelling experience of Destiny. I have to say though, the most important change to the storytelling of the Taken King is through the use of character. Now, unlike with previous DLCs, the Taken King expansion is rife with extremely high quality cutscenes and character interactions like never before. Sure, in the vanilla game we might interact with the speaker so he could tell us about how he's not going to tell us about anything.
I could tell you of the great battle centuries ago. I could tell you of the power of the darkness, its ancient enemy.
Or he might talk with the stranger so we could learn about various plot devices like the Darkness or the Black Garden.
Have you heard of the Black Garden?
But these situations were more often than not a one-on-one encounter and were mostly there to deliver information. They lacked the substance of character. The Taken King has changed its approach a bit. Cutscenes will still delve out important information, but we might see a scene playing out with a small character like the shipwright engineer, a conversation with the entire Vanguard elite discussing the severity of a situation, or even Oryx himself speaking and delving out commands to the Hive. This improved presentation and interaction of multiple figures of note gives a greater sense of personality to the characters. Eris and Cade, for example, play off each other very well. Eris's strict seriousness coupled with her fringe insanity mixes extremely well with Cade's snarky, confident, and traditional rogue hunter-like personality. The interaction of these important figures gives the world a much-needed intimacy with the narrative, whereas before, story investment was really only found for those willing to dive into the lore through the Grimoire, which ultimately built the history of Destiny's world with the hopes for the future. The Taken King, on the other hand, seems to be much more concerned with building a compelling presentation and narrative in the present as well. Locations fell into this improved presentation too, giving Destiny's universe more character. For example, one of the first new missions takes place on Phobos, a moon of Mars. Phobos did a great job of displaying events in a way to point the eye in the direction of very cinematic events that were scripted, but felt very organic. Like when the sound of a dying Cabal captures your attention, so only moments later an explosion draws you into the chaos and destruction of the Cabal forces. These environmental elements coupled with conversations over the intercom drew me in like Destiny has never done before.
What the hell was that?
Fingertips on the surface of my mind.
Yes. Thank you for your input, Eris.
Another thing I really enjoyed about the levels was the actual structure and design. There were points where multiple routes could be taken or verticality came into play, where I'd be looking down on events playing out far below. More often than not, I feel as though Destiny forgets that we have these amazing jumping abilities on our characters, as most battle situations or level structures seem to take place on a flat plane, or at least on a terrain where just a hop will get you where you need to go. It was definitely nice to see some stages with long falls or treacherous heights to climb. Alright, the final aspect I should definitely discuss regarding locations is patrolling the Dreadnaught. The Dreadnaught is of course the main new location of the Taken King. It's essentially Oryx's main warship. The Dreadnaught basically acts as a new planet with patrols, missions, strikes, and eventually the raid. I was able to patrol the Dreadnaught. That being said, I wasn't really allowed to venture off and explore like with most patrol areas. For the most part, in the presentation sections we stuck around a single area. In this area there was a gateway and shrines. This public space was called the Court of Oryx. Here guardians who had collected special runes could place them in the shrines, and the shrines would then open the gateway portal, triggering a player-activated public event and challenge. There's 3 different sets of shrines, each shrine triggering different degrees of difficulty. A tier 1, 2, and 3 shrine could be initiated at the Court of Oryx, and each tier seemed as though it had a variety of several different encounters or bosses that would spawn, all with their own mechanics. And if the challenge was successfully completed, the group that initiated the public event with the runestones at the shrine could loot a chest at the foot of the gateway portal. Beyond Tier 1 we attempted Tier 2, but with our preloaded characters and weapons, Tier 2 seemed nearly impossible. Just looking at an enemy wrong would basically trigger death. So Tier 3 definitely remains a mystery, and Bungie obviously wants it to remain this way until launch, and I personally wouldn't have it any other way. Alright, for the next one, let's talk about some of the new enemies. For the most part, in the segments of the game that I was allowed to test, I primarily fought normal Cabal and Taken Cabal. Taken Cabal are variations on normal Cabal that Oryx has corrupted in some way with the darkness and bridged the gap between the Hive's dark dimension and our own reality. It was definitely nice to fight new enemy types with new abilities and behaviors, even if it was just a reskinned enemy. The Taken Scions, for example, had strange and sporadic movements that felt very unnatural and could even split into additional copies of themselves. And the Phalanx, on the other hand, had a vortex shield that could shoot projectiles that would send your character flying. But more than anything, the new bosses is what stood out to me. The boss I was able to fight was the Shield Bros, 2 Cabal elite warriors set up in a tag team-like boss encounter. The reason this encounter was so significant to me is because I'm a huge PvE fan. I love raiding in Destiny, and this new fight showcased that Bungie is becoming more bold in implementing stronger boss mechanics more reminiscent of traditional MMOs or their own raids in just a normal strike. In turn, that makes me even more excited for the new Oryx raid, King's Fall. Now these elements that I'm talking about in the Shield Bros encounter are things as simple as different phases where the fight changes mechanics at health intervals, or as advanced as implementing graphical indicators for incoming AoE or damaging effects when one brother is firing energy motors into the air. These small nuanced decisions, like adding little icons on the edge of your screen indicating harmful fire near your character, displays Bungie's intent to bring surrounding and raid awareness to a first-person game, which is pretty difficult to do. And all of these seemingly small additions actually carry a lot of weight and show a more refined and sophisticated approach to not just raiding, but to the boring strike bosses of the Destiny that was. Now, will these improved mechanics carry over into other strikes? I have no idea, and will it translate into raids? More than likely, but all I know is that this single boss encounter and these little icons and graphical additions got me more excited about the Taken King than any other aspect. These small details, in combination with things like new gear slots, versatile subclasses, revamped weapons, and improved character and world interactions through narrative, makes me think Destiny is headed in many of the right directions. Granted, many of these changes probably should have been implemented since day one, like more fleshed out characters and better boss design for strikes. I'm still happy to see Destiny is really trying to turn into a more compelling RPG to match the marvel of its fantastic controls and shooting mechanics. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. It really does help with searchability and goes a long way with the success of videos here on YouTube. It helped me out a lot and I'd really appreciate it. Alright guys, please don't hesitate to check out my other Destiny content, and I'll see you in the next one. Without those willing to peer into the darkness and come face to face with the fringe of being, with the darkest trenches of the universe, the darkness will consume all light. Meaning weapon strikes, attack, moveset combinations, the kick, the parry, the repost, the backstab, running, rolling, plunging attack all feel exactly like they're ripped from Dark Souls 1.